Hey guys, in this video we're going to talk about Parkinson's disease, okay? Like what is it and what do you do about it? It's a chronic degeneration of the central nervous system and involves specifically a part of the brain called the substantia nigra, okay? And that part of the brain controls a neurotransmitter called dopamine. Now, a neurotransmitter is a hormone-like communication that doesn't travel through the blood, it travels through the nerves, okay? And you have a lot of different neurotransmitters, but dopamine is the one that actually is diminished with Parkinson's. And the symptoms with Parkinson's is like a resting tremor, okay? It's like this shakiness, rigid, very slow, very stiff, depressed, flexed posture, they're hunched over like this, eventually dementia. Okay, those are the symptoms. And if you look up what causes this condition, it's called idiopathic, which is a fancy term for they don't know. Unknown cause, right? And there's unknown cures. They don't know what to do to cure it. And they give people what's called L-Dopa as a medication. And then when that doesn't work, they give it a different type of, it's called a dopamine agonist, which stimulates more dopamine. So anyway, they don't really know exactly what to do about it. So if you look deeply into the literature, you'll find some links between pesticide exposure and Parkinson's, okay? You'll also find the relationship between high incidence of head trauma and Parkinson's. But there's some other things that are very interesting findings, and there's usually always this abnormal protein in the brain called alpha-synuclein. Just thought you might want to know that. But this abnormal protein accumulates in certain parts of the brain abnormally and interferes with dopamine. Very similar to Alzheimer's, you have amyloid plaquing. So it's another type of protein. So dopamine basically controls the starting and stopping of movement. So if I were to start the motion going and stop it, it's controlled by dopamine. Okay, so with Parkinson's, you don't have that. You can't start things and you can't stop things. Okay, it's just constantly changing. So now the question is like, what can you do for this condition? Well, it just so happens, and if I had this condition, this is what I would do. There's an enzyme. It's a very, very, very powerful protein enzyme, probably the most powerful proteolytic enzyme out there, and it's called serrapeptase. And it was originally found in the intestines of the silkworm, but they're able to ferment it and make it. So this is what you need to get. So if you know someone, start putting them on this. You can get it on Amazon, you can get it anywhere. But find one that is somewhat quality. Find one that is at least 250,000 IUs. That's about 450 milligrams. This must be taken on an empty stomach. Why? Because it'll digest your food instead of the protein plaquing in the brain. So it's interesting because this is a systemic enzyme, which means it goes into the digestive system, goes into the blood, and it travels through and dissolves scarring, clogged arteries, protein in places where it shouldn't be. And it doesn't harm your other proteins, like your normal proteins. So it's really cool stuff. So this is what you would want to take, and I would recommend taking 2 of these on an empty stomach 3 times a day. Okay? And I think you would see some good changes with that. So now as far as eating goes, you definitely need to get the person on a very healthy eating plan that has to do with more of a ketogenic type eating plan. Why? Because the ketogenic type diet feeds the brain ketones, which really is good at improving circulation and decreasing degeneration. Because if you take a look at a brain from an insulin-resistant type patient or a diabetic, they don't have a lot of oxygen. They have a lot of inflammation. They have a lot of degeneration in the brain. So that would be one thing I would also add to this enzyme right here. All right, so thanks for watching, and put your comments below.